Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show, bringing you all the hoops, no hot takes, just taking you through all the news going on around the NBA. We had opening night last night, so plenty to talk about from that. We've got some injury updates to dive into as well. I'm Trevor Lane. Find me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane, joined by Keith Smith at Keith Smith NBA. Keith, basketball is back, and I'm excited. Opening night, despite the struggles that my Lakers had, it was still a fun opening night. And we've got even more good basketball on the way tonight.
I'm glad to see you're staying positive. I was a little bit worried about you last night. I sent you a text here. I don't know, it was probably close to 1-ish a.m. on the East Coast when I sent you that note, just checking in on you, make sure you're okay. I didn't know if you're like, I'm done with this season. I'll see you next year. I'll see you in July. But you're hanging in there. I appreciate that. So, hey, one thing, every time you say hoops without the hot takes, it makes me think that a really good name for a morning basketball show would be Hoops and Hot Cakes.
Oh, that is a good idea.
Yeah, right?
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I like patent pending, copyright, NBA Front Office Show.
and then we can start throwing in you pancake eating MFer all the time,
exactly,
right? Like an end to that show.
Yeah, we could try to get guests like Darvin Ham and Eggs. Dwayne Bacon.
We are off the rails already on this show.
Here we go.
Did not take long.
Nope, it did not. Yeah, let's talk about opening night.
Let's do it. So let's start off with the initial game. You've got the 76ers against your Boston Celtics. I thought this was a pretty fun game. You had James Harden doing James Harden things, hitting the step back threes. You must have been going crazy, getting fouled on 3-point attempts left and right. It felt like it was like 3 times in the first half or something like that. And then the Celtics ultimately step it up. But how did you feel from this game, from the Celtics perspective, and just from entertainment value? What were your takeaways from this?
Yeah, entertainment value was a little tough, especially the first half. There were something like 56 free throws between the two teams in the first half or something. It was just a very large number. It was not good. We don't want that, right? Unfortunately, that's going to be Philly games all season long, right? It's going to be Harden, running down the court, running into guys. Embiid's going to pile up free throws. Tyrese Maxey's so quick. He's going to be getting guys into foul trouble and getting them in the bonus early. So, but that said, fun game. In the second half, really, and people will say, well, that's because the Celtics were winning. But the reality is that's when the game, I thought, flowed better. I thought it was just a more fun watch at that point. So all around, good performance from the Celtics. I feel pretty good about, the reasons I picked Jason Tatum to win MVP. I thought he showed a lot of that stuff. I think he's really increased his foul drawing craft, going to the basket. He's getting low. He's getting underneath guys. Him and Jaylen Brown are going to be really tough in the open court with the take foul gone. You could see it a couple times. Philly was like, and then Philly doesn't. They played no defense throughout the entirety of this game. James Harden was an absolute embarrassment on that end. And then I thought Joel Embiid looked kind of slow and sluggish, which I didn't really expect on opening night. But all around, good game for Boston. They've got a lot of stuff to clean up too, especially defensively. I think not having Robert Williams, threw them off a little bit. It's going to obviously take Noah Vonleh and Blake Griffin a little bit of time to get their coverages down. Blake was laying back. That's not generally, I think, how Boston wanted to defend some of those actions. But good stuff all around for the Celtics in an opening win.
So you've got in this one, you have Jason Tatum shooting as many free throw attempts, 9, as Joel Embiid. If you're the 76ers, that's big trouble, right? If Jason Tatum is getting as many free throw attempts as Joel Embiid, you've got big problems there. Tatum puts up 35, 12, and 4 on the night. 35 points, 12 boards, and 35 points from Jaylen Brown as well. So you got 70 points out of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. That's pretty incredible that they were able to.
21 out of 25 on 2-pointers.
Man,
in the game. Yeah.
That's credit to them. That's also unsustainable, but that's an amazing night.
Well,
no question.
It is and it isn't, because a lot of them were layups. So, now again, Philly's defense was really, really bad. So, that's probably not going to happen all the time. But yeah, it's they they got what they wanted and got into it pretty good. I thought too, Malcolm Brogdon looked good. First game as a Celtic, played really well. I gave them kind of exactly what they're looking for. Really nobody for Boston didn't play well. Even Al Horford, at times was a little bit of struggle for him. Just couldn't get his jumper to go down, but he played Embiid tough despite a lot of fouls and made it really hard on him in the second half. So I thought that was good to see as well. So I have no complaints at all out of really anything from the Celtics side.
James Harden was definitely. I mean, he put up a fine stat line: 35, 8, and 7 for Harden. You'll take that. 5 and 9 from 3.
Mm-hmm.
But was a turnstile on defense. They were going right at him and just, I mean, it was like he wasn't there. So
yeah, PJ Tucker too. Tatum went at PJ Tucker off the bounce quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that was something that cropped up some in the Eastern Conference Finals with PJ Tucker struggling a little bit. So that's something I'm definitely going to keep an eye on here. I think one thing I would look for, let me rephrase. I would look to do, I don't think Doc Rivers is going to do it because he's never done this. I would stagger Harden and Embiid. I would get them out early, do an early sub, get them out, let Maxey and Harris really push. Those two guys want to get out and run. Yeah. Get out and run, push pace, then come back with Harden and Embiid to bridge the Q1, Q2 and bridge Q3, Q4. And let them do work against backup units. I think it'd be absolutely devastating to have them out there against backup groups because nobody has very few teams have a starting 5 who can handle Joel Embiid. Nobody has a backup 5 who can really handle him. And, just let them kind of do that. But Doc doesn't do that. He doesn't really stagger guys. He tends to play more unit based than, he does staggering. And we'll see if that's something, he gets to at some point. But history tells me I don't think we're going to see that.
There is a bit of a conflict there offensively where you've got Maxey and Harris wanting to play at one pace and Harden and Embiid wanting to play at another. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes together. And then PJ Tucker is just kind of along for the ride with whoever has the ball at the time on the offensive end of that starting lineup. Let's jump over to, I mean, maybe it's an oversimplification, but ultimately the Lakers can't shoot and the Warriors can. And that's kind of how we saw that game play out last night.
Is that your version of it's a make or miss league?
I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's pretty accurate.
We knew going into this game going into this season that the Lakers hadn't put a lot of shooters around the team. We'll talk about that in a minute when we get to LeBron's quote. But I was also very noticeable that the Warriors play like a team that's been together for a number of years, and the Lakers are playing like a team who just got thrown together and had essentially 0 minutes on the court together during the course of preseason. And that's pretty much what it looked like, which is kind of what I expected going in. Maybe that's why I'm not, the sky isn't falling, because I kind of saw what I was expecting to see.
Yeah, I'm not going to go crazy over losing games to the Warriors, right? They're the champions. So it was more the way the Lakers looked in the second half for most of it.
The third quarter, especially.
Yeah, and they made in that fourth quarter, they made one of those kind of runs. And I tweeted at the time of the thing that's tough against the Warriors is you can rip together like a big run, get back into the game, and then 3 straight possessions, they hit 3-pointers, and then all of a sudden it's over. And it's like, there's just nothing you can do about it, right? And that's kind of exactly what happened. The Lakers, put together a nice run. The Warriors came down. I think it was 3 straight trips. The last one, I think Steph got a 4-point play, and that was it. The game wasn't close again. Then I think it was shortly thereafter that both sides kind of emptied the benches. But yeah, I think with the Lakers, we can get to the LeBron quote. He was asked after the game, and he basically said, look, we don't have a roster that is shooting. Something like we don't have a lot of lasers out there, I believe was the exact wording on it. And he's not wrong. And I'm seeing people kind of rip him for it, but we ask these guys to be honest. If we ask them to be honest, then we can't be mad when they are, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it.
I mean, what's he supposed to like?
Yeah.
He said that, that they're getting great looks. He also questioned whether or not teams are giving them great looks, like knowing that, hey, they're probably not going to knock them down, but they're shooting. I did the math today. They're shooting 28% from 3 between preseason and regular season added up. Preseason, of course, a little bit muddied because you have guys who aren't in the rotation or even on the team anymore that are going to, factor into that, but still 28% from 3 through 7 games now. That's 4+% lower than the worst 3-point shooting team in the league last year, Oklahoma City. So yeah, they're shooting incredibly poorly. It's a LeBron saying that. That's That's just honest. It's in the numbers. It's in black and white. There's nothing else you can say to really try to soften that. That just is what it is. They're not shooting well. They are getting good looks, and they've got to figure out how to knock them down. Whether that's just via positive regression to the mean, which I think will come at some point. Again, I did the math this morning, and if you took everybody's percentages and volume from last season and just transported that into this season, they would be shooting 33% from three as a team, which is not good. It's not good. It would be in the running for worst in the NBA, but it's not 28% from three bad. So there probably is some improvement in there. But then other than that, you're going to need, frankly, probably a trade in order to make any kind of significant improvement in that area.
Yeah, and that's where, I wonder, does LeBron saying this openly, Russ, we're going to get into him in a minute. He's not happy, right? And that's not, I'm not breaking any news there, right? I mean, we all know this. And just anybody seeing it, like the offensive balance just isn't there. It's basically, and this is saying this with, I thought Russ actually played a pretty good game.
Oh, he was fine. He wasn't the problem.
Yeah, no, he certainly wasn't. And I'm not going to rip their defense too much because again, it's the Warriors, right? Like it's, kind of is what it is. AD had a stretch in the first half where it's like, okay, if they're getting this AD on both ends of the floor, like you're now we're talking about, a team to really watch here. But problem is sustaining that. And it's, I mean, at this point in his career, I think LeBron very much picks and chooses when he's going to defend. The rest of the roster, Patrick Beverley, tries, but when he's kind of the only guy fighting through screens and stuff, there's only so much he can do. But to where that all adds up for me is you got to start to wonder is, does LeBron put pressure on to make a trade and quote unquote save the season? Or does LeBron say, you know what, let's play it out. I'll break the scoring record. We'll have cap space in the summer. We can really reset this roster in a nice way. And let's do that. And that's, I think there's a possibility that's the way it goes too. I think, people are jumping to, and I tweeted it just more, out of wanted to see what their response would be is what's the over under on when they trade both first rounders for Hield and Turner, right? Because we know that trade's been sitting there for a while.
It's there for them when they want.
Yeah. So I don't, like some people are like, well, what, today's the 19th, so probably the 20th, like, and those kind of things. And like, yeah, I don't think it's coming that quickly by any means, but I don't know, that's going to be obviously a talking point. I've seen it already online today, and some of the shows I know are getting into it of like, they've got to do this because you have to win with LeBron. But if LeBron's like, hey, it is what it is this year, let's, kind of do our thing, then I don't know. I'm not going to get too worked up over it.
Here's the thing. They have to walk a very fine line here for this trade situation. See, what they have to do is they have to show the front office that they are good enough that they just need a little bit more in order to really be something, while at the same time being bad enough to present that kind of urgency. Like if they're keeping their heads above water, then the front office can just kind of float along and say, okay, well, we'll wait and see what's going to come along, see if something better comes along in January or, December, February, whatever it is. We'll wait and see what happens from here. Losing games like this can help increase the urgency to get something done now. But there's also a threshold where if you look really, really bad and you're the Lakers front office and you just say, well, yeah, we can give up both picks, but Turner and Hield aren't fixing this. Right? It's like putting a bullet or putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. It's not going to do anything.
Well done, Taylor Swift.
Is that a Taylor Swift thing?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Fix bullet holes. Yeah, come on now. Come on. You're not a closet Swiftie? Let's go.
No, I didn't.
Your daughter's not old enough yet.
That's what it is. She's not. Yeah. Swiftie, that's a thing. Wow.
Yeah, Swifties, man. Dude, you're supposed to be the cool one on this show. If I'm having to carry our cool cred, we have a lot of problems.
My daughter is 6. We've spent the last few days living in, I don't know, something called Tots, a show that's on, I don't know, Netflix or something like that, and we've been doing Lego Avengers and that's the world that I've been living in.
Nice. So, well, Lego Avengers is solid. I have no idea what the other thing you're talking about.
I don't even fully know.
When ours was 6, she was all about the Paw Patrol. I think it was.
So. We still get that.
Yep. Yeah, I like the Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
Yeah, does she ever get up and leave the room? And then like you're like, well, I gotta see how this episode ends. Like that used to happen to us all the time. I'm like, well, I gotta
Mhm.
see what happens here. So I'm not
I
afraid
can't
to
say
admit.
that's the case.
Yeah. I
I'm
hung in
sure-
on a few episodes of the Paw Patrol back in the day of all right, I gotta see if Marshall can get him out of this one.
I'm usually pretty quick to switch it over to one of the games that was on at the time.
Oh, well,
But
yeah. I mean, that's fair too. If
yeah.
there's games on, I'm not watching the Paw Patrol, but I mean, there's not a lot. There's not a lot to watch at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning always, unless the
Well,
Premier
that's
League's going on.
that.
Then
Well, there you go.
yeah.
There you go. You
All
get
right,
some
I
good
don't
ones.
even remember where we were.
Well, so we were at the Lakers and their situation with their shooting and do they pull a trade or not? And again, it's walking that fine line. They have to
Mhm.
show that they
Yep.
are good enough to where a Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, that level of player, not those guys specifically necessarily, but that level of player would mean something to them. Because if not, then there's not a lot of incentive there to do something. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach this as kind of the season goes on.
You want to talk about a deal they could have
Yeah.
done, supposedly? So
Yep.
this report came from Tony Jones of The Athletic. He's a Utah-based writer. He's a beat writer for the Jazz. He says that the Lakers passed on Utah's offer of Bojan Bogdanovic, Mike Conley, Rudy Gay, and a 2023 first rounder. So the Lakers would have got one coming in for Russell Westbrook, obviously, is the salary match, and then first round picks in 2027 and 2029. How do you feel about that?
I feel it's misleading.
Okay.
I feel it's misleading because I think people are going to run with that and go, oh, that would mean they're really only giving up one first round pick and they're getting Bogdanovich and first of all, like Bogdanovich got traded for Kelly Olynyk, right? Like
Mhm.
there wasn't a ton of value around the NBA, and you could say, well, maybe the Lakers should have beat that offer, but I think we have to keep in mind that, and this is what I don't like about that report, is that he didn't say what the draft pick is. And there's such a
Mhm.
wide range in value there. Like if that was, and there's no chance they would do this, but if that was the Jazz first round pick, their first round pick unprotected in 2023,
Mhm.
then the Lakers are absolute fools for not taking that.
Sure.
Absolutely. Like you take that in a heartbeat. But that's not the case. That's almost certainly not the case. And I think that's what people tend to think of when they hear first round picks. But you've got all of these first round picks coming in for the Jazz. They picked up a bunch. I mean, it could have been the Minnesota first round pick. It could have
Mhm.
been a first round pick from they've got a pick that's coming from either
Yeah,
Houston,
it's the
Brooklyn, or
least
Philly.
favorable. Yeah, it's the worst of Brooklyn, Houston, and Philly
So
that they're gonna get. So yeah.
So you're talking most likely you're talking about a late first for your future first unprotected. And then when you add that in and it's not truly like an unprotected first in
Mhm.
2023, I get why, Bogdanovich, Conley's contract is not a positive. That's a negative value. And then Rudy Gay is that I don't think he's a guy that's going to do a lot for you. So
Mhm.
you're really kind of giving that up for Bogdanovich, and then you're having to take on Conley's contract. I see why the Lakers would pass on that.
Yeah, I think if I'm the Lakers, I want to hold out if I'm giving up both first for
Mhm.
now. I'm a big Bojan Bogdanovic fan. I don't understand
Oh, yeah, he'd
why
be a
the
nice fit.
return was so minimal. Yeah, exactly. He'd be a great fit. Because that's what they don't have, right? They don't have any kind of wings with size that aren't LeBron. So he would have been really good for them. And plus, I mean, yeah, if LeBron's going to be your primary playmaker, Bogdanovich knows how to play. He's been doing that his whole career with playing off guys, and he can do some stuff with the ball in his hands when he has to create off the move and things like that. But yeah, I look at it as I probably would have said no too if I was the Lakers. Yeah, if it was Utah's pick, yeah, then absolutely you have to do it because that's just dumb if you didn't
Oh,
do it
yeah.
because then you're really only giving up one first round pick for all those guys. Like
And
that's
it's an earlier pick, and I
exactly.
mean, you're
Yep.
Wembanyama, but that's
Yeah.
why there's
But
no way, even
that's
if it
why it
was
would not
Utah's
have
pick,
been exactly.
it would have been
Yeah.
lottery
It was gonna
protected or,
yeah. And Utah might even have done it as, hey, we'll give you the worst of because they could have roped it all in with Minnesota and everything and
right.
roped it all in that way too. So yeah, I get it. I get why it's a story, right? Because it's theoretically could have filled a couple holes there, could have got off Russ, but it's just I think they're going to be very choosy with moving those picks if they ever do, right? I mean, it's funny. Hopefully, we're still doing this show and we can talk about if they ever traded those picks, down 5 and 7 years from now.
That's right.
But we'll see. Last thing on the Lakers, just Russell Westbrook says he absolutely believes coming off the bench caused his hamstring injury. I don't know. I get where he is coming from, that he's had his pregame routine
Yep.
for his entire career, and he knows exactly what he wants. I mean, these guys are meticulous with this stuff. A lot of players, both sides, have talked about it. They talked about it after last night. Hear it on every single rig night. It's a screwed up night because your timing's all off and everything gets thrown off because you warm up. Then there's this long ceremony, and then there's like another quick 5-minute warm up before you go. So guys, just timing is thrown off by that. But these guys are, I mean, you've been in, and you've been in enough locker rooms just like I have, where it's at an hour before on the clock, I go out and I do my shooting, and then at 45 minutes I do my stretches and all those kind of things and all that stuff. So yeah, I think we're in a there's a big crash outside my thing. There's just somebody dumping their trash bucket. I want to make sure there wasn't a car accident in the street.
That was the sound of the Lakers missing another shot.
That's what it was. It did sort of sound like that. But yeah, so I get where Russ is coming from. It may have, right? I mean, he doesn't know. And one thing I think we can say about Russ is, even last year, as poor as things went, he still goes pretty hard when he's on the floor. He still plays, pretty fast. He's still going really hard. He still turns on the jets. And yeah, if you don't know how to slowly build into a game coming off the bench, you want to come in shot out of a cannon, maybe it did, cause him to, maybe pull something a little bit. But the reality is, I think I think people are going to be like, whatever, dude, no one wants to hear it. Right. That's my take.
There were those who were accusing Russell Westbrook of faking the hamstring injury, that it didn't happen, and that was him protesting coming off the bench. And then they're using this to kind of back up that claim that, see, he's just trying to manipulate this situation because he doesn't want to come off the bench. So of course he's saying that coming off the bench hurt him, so therefore you can't bring him off the bench because, he's going to get hurt if he comes off the bench. So I don't buy it. I don't buy that premise. I don't think, I would hope anyway that he wouldn't do that. I would rather not buy it and be proven wrong, than the other way. But in any event, I understand where he's coming from, that it does throw off your routine. It's not like he just volunteered this information. He was asked the question about his routine and whether or not that routine being thrown off could have been a factor in his hamstring injury, and he said absolutely. And we went into his explanation of why. When you read the quote, it feels kind of damning, but then when you listen to him, if you go and you actually watch the clip and you hear what he says, it makes some sense. Like, you can understand kind of what he's saying and what he's trying to get across and all of that. So I'm not jumping to conclusions here on this and saying, oh, this is terrible that he's saying, some people are going to that level. I will say what he said is very different than, I won't come off the bench because I think I'm going to get hurt. That's not what he said. He just said this could have been a contributing factor. If he had taken that next step and said, and because of this, I'm not going to come off the bench, because he could still figure out his warm-up routine and everything. The first time, that's fine. If it's a little bit difficult to kind of sort through that and everything. But at some point, if you just said, look, Russ, you're coming off the bench, you're going to have to figure out how to do your warm-up, whether you ride the stationary bike when you're not in, whatever it is, right? There's a path to get there. If he's saying, I refuse to do that, then that's a different conversation. But that's not what the message that's being put out here.
No, completely agree. And I think you made a really important distinction too. It wasn't like they said, so Russ, how do you feel like it went? He just said, hey, I hurt my hamstring because I came off the bench. It's not how it went down. He was asked specifically, what he thought happened. And, did he think coming off the bench, maybe it's almost like when you say something, you ask one of those leading questions where it's like, hey, you want pizza tonight, right? Like that's it wasn't exactly like that, but it was almost like, hey, did coming off the bench hurt your hamstring? It was something in that range.
In an ideal world, everyone would get money for winning Employee of the Month, right?
Yeah, right. Everyone would get pizza all the time whenever you want it, right? I mean, come on now. But yeah, it's yeah, no, I hear you, man. It's it kind of is what it is. It's just, anything like this that's the slight slightest bit of negativity around this team right now, it's just going to get blown into a major story because everybody's waiting for, I think, quite frankly, LeBron to just kind of blow his top and be like, I'm done, blow it up, get rid of everybody, let's start over. And I just don't know that that's going to happen. I honestly, I don't think it is.
No, I don't think so either. Well, definitely not publicly, but
Yeah.
I need to get your take on this. Charles Barkley last night at halftime of the Lakers Warriors game went on a rant, said that the Lakers have stolen all the joy from Russell Westbrook from playing basketball. I had a reaction to this that I put up on the Lakers Nation YouTube channel. How, from a neutral point of view, how do you feel about that?
I think it is. I wrote a million years ago. It was actually on Medium. I wrote an article called "It Doesn't End Well," and it was about veteran players' careers that just they end weird, right? Rarely do you get the, and he didn't even get it, but rarely do you get the MJ hits the game winner in the finals, walks off the court as a champion, is never heard from again. He didn't even get it because then he did those goofy Wizards years.
Right.
But I think Russ is caught in that it's not ending well. He's not the same player he was. He will never be that player again. It can be very hard for guys to adjust. And if he wants to hang around, he can either do one of two things. It's either going to be this for a few more years, but progressively sadder and turn into something nobody really wants to see, or he can do the Derrick Rose approach of, you know what? I am going to rebuild my game. I'll be a bench scoring weapon. That's what I'll be. I will fully adapt and adjust to that's what I'm going to be. And Derrick Rose has carved out easy 5 extra years that nobody thought he was going to have in his career by saying, all right, I'll come off the bench and that's what I'll become. There's no reason Russ couldn't do that beyond some guys just can't. If he's not wired that way, he's not wired that way. And that's fine. It's what kills me is the people who are now turning it into, well, this guy was never good. I mean, that's just dumb. We don't
That's
need
not
to
true.
do
Yeah.
that. Like, just because, I mean, was Shaq never good because his last year he was hurt almost all year in Boston and didn't, score 20 points per game? That's stupid. No, he was dominating. He was Shaq. He was one of the best players of all time. I mean, it's just the reality is very few players get the storybook ending in their career. And we're seeing it happen again with Russ. It's just, where this kind of is right now for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was my thought as well, was that this isn't I mean, look, it's been contentious with Russell Westbrook and the Lakers. They've been trying to trade him. Lakers fans have not gotten along with Russell Westbrook. That hasn't gone well. A lot of that has to do with his contract, though, in addition to his play on the floor. It's not all on Russ, but he's not all blameless in this either.
No.
So when you say that someone has stolen the joy from him or whatever, that's trying to absolve him of blame in this situation. And there's plenty of blame to go around to a lot of different parties that are involved here.
This is 100% trying to hammer a square peg into a round hole.
Yep.
And it's like, it's like that commercial that was on, I don't know, probably 10 years ago now, where he's like, just keep hitting it. It'll fit. It feels like that's what's happened here for, now a year plus. We're in the year number 2 of just keep hitting it and we'll make it fit. And eventually it's going to be, something's going to break, right? Either the peg's going to break or the box that you're trying to hammer it into is going to break or whatever. And then off you go. But I don't know. I probably lost that whole analogy. Let's just
no. I think I had a worse one on the Lakers Nation show, the live show last night. Somehow Arby's got roped in.
Nice.
It was bad.
But, I like Arby's.
Arby's is good. The analogy was bad, but
beat up Arby's online. I don't know why.
So when I look, just to kind of close the book on this, when I look at Russell Westbrook, I look at his performance last night. I thought, you know what? He wasn't bad. He was not the problem last night. However, he doesn't solve the problems that the team does have.
Yep.
What he doesn't solve the problems that they have.
Yep.
He wasn't the problem last night, but he doesn't solve the problems either. And so that's
completely
where they're at. Ultimately, they need to part ways.
Yep.
We need to get into a couple of injuries here.
Yep.
Otherwise, I will talk Lakers all day on accident. That will happen. But Zach Levine now out for the first couple of games of the season.
Yeah.
The Bulls already have injury concerns here going on. They've already got issues with Lonzo Ball, and now you've got Zach Levine. We've wondered whether or not the Bulls might be a team to pull the plug. I'm not saying this is that point. Certainly isn't, but this doesn't help.
No, it's worrisome. And this is knee stuff, and they're calling it injury management. Like injury management in games 1 and 2 of the season. Like that's not great. I don't want to see anybody, if you're hurt, you're hurt, and just call it that. If you need injury management this early in the year, like where are we going? So it's just I was worried about the Bulls coming in as the rest of the East continues to get better. I Lonzo's out for who knows how long. Now Levine's going to miss some time. I don't know. I feel like I tweeted this earlier today. We're never going to see this Bulls team like as they envisioned it. Like, and that makes me a little bit bummed out.
Yeah. They were, as we've talked about, they were a lot of fun at the beginning of last year. They were one of the more exciting teams, and things seem to be not going in a positive direction. When we look at teams who could potentially make a move to try to, reset things, maybe they're one of them. We'll see.
And if DeMar DeRozan plays at all like you did last year, that's all of a sudden a really nice trade chip to do something. You got Vooch. If teams are looking for a big on an expiring deal, you could see them kind of say, all right, you know what we're going to do? We're going to bottom this out, get a nice pick. We'll reset around a healthy Lonzo, a healthy Zach LaVine, and whoever we draft and go. Maybe that is the direction this Bulls team goes. I think more teams need to do that, honestly. You need to be willing to very quickly say, nope, this isn't it. We're going a different direction, but we'll see where it goes. Get DeMar DeRozan in fantasy, right?
Like he should have plenty of opportunities to put up numbers. Their first is only top 4 protected this year. That could be a complicating factor.
Right. They go to Orlando. Yeah. Good point. Well, if you land in the top 4, then you try to get down that low, I guess. But
sure.
Yeah, you end up little less lottery luck and you get pushed out. So
you're gonna have some competition
through the tank. Yeah, it was funny. I saw a lot of people saying last night, like the Lakers should just tank, go for Wembanyama, and they can't. They don't have control of their pick.
There's a pick swap.
There's a pick swap with New Orleans,
and the highest pick they could get is the second pick, and that would require the Lakers and the Pelicans to be the worst teams in the NBA for that to happen. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Victor Oladipo obviously is dealing with knee concerns already. That's not a good sign. This is a guy who spent a lot of time injured over the last few years. Felt like he had gotten back on track last year.
He was pretty good in the playoffs.
Yeah, and now here we are again.
Yep, and that's a blow for Miami. That team doesn't have as much depth as I think people think they may have. They actually do have decent guard depth, so that's good. This presumably opens the door for Duncan Robinson to get back into the rotation more to start the year. But Oladipo and Hero, there were a lot of times when they got. I think we're looking to get some mileage out of those two guys playing, as the kind of combo guard backcourt off the bench at times, and we're probably just not going to see it for a little bit with that one. So yeah. I don't know. It just makes me a little sad too, because I like Victor Oladipo. I really became a fan of his when he played for the Magic, and just it's a little bummer the way these last I guess we're going to 4 years now for him after he became an All-NBA guy in Indiana. It's just kind of really gone off the rails after that knee injury, and it's just he's never quite gotten it back.
Injuries are the worst.
We got one more late breaking story here. Okay. Eric Pascal, two-way with Minnesota, is going to be waived. Sham Sharania and Mike Scotto of Hoopsite both reporting that Minnesota is waiving Eric Pascal. So they'll have a two-way spot open. Generally, when this happens at this point, it's one of two things. Either the player is hurt or they've got something lined up where they want to bring in somebody else. I'm guessing. I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to AJ Lawson, who was with them all of camp. And I know they kind of liked on a two-way, if they bring him back in on another two-way over Pascal. But we'll see. And presumably that'll, get itself worked out here in the next little bit.
All right. So last night was technically opening night, but tonight a lot more games
League Pass
on the schedule. League Pass opening night. Yes, indeed. What are there? There's like, oh man,
13.
There's 12? 13. Yeah.
12 or 13. Yeah.
Games on the schedule. I know the Clippers don't have their opener till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Clippers and somebody else.
Somebody has to be.
Is it maybe Milwaukee? Yeah, I want to say.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, they open tomorrow. Only 2 games tomorrow night. Opening week's always a little weird, right? Because they don't want anybody to open with back-to-backs and all that sort of stuff. So,
Right.
yeah, Clippers, Lakers, and Bucks, Sixers. So, a couple good ones on TNT
But
tomorrow night. So,
tonight, I've got two matchups that I've particularly highlighted that I want to check out this evening, and of course I'll pop around to a lot of them, but two are at the top of mind. For me, it's Mavs and Suns, and Nets and Pelicans are the top of my list that I want to check out. Do you have any that you're really hoping to see tonight?
yeah, yeah, obviously, those two pretty high on my list. I think Trailblazers Kings in that 10 o'clock window is just going to be
Yes,
fun because
good
it's
one.
going to be a ton of points. I think scored. Unfortunately, Keegan Murray's not going to play for
Yeah,
Sacramento. That's a little bit of a bummer. I'm curious to
that's the highest over under line of the night, 229 projected points.
over.
Smash the over.
You know, yeah. Nuggets,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jazz,
231 and a half for
230.
Pelicans and
All
Nets.
right, still
I
go
missed that
over.
one.
Yeah. Nuggets, Jazz, just to see Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. And then I'm obviously very interested to see Magic Pistons, just two young teams going at it. But there's some good ones too. Cavs Raptors is a really fun game. Their Knicks Grizzlies should be a fun one. Yeah, I saw some stuff. People were like, this league pass schedule tonight's kind of junk, and I'm like, really? I think there's a whole bunch of games there. Maybe I'm just overly excited for the whole thing to start up. But yeah,
I,
I'm looking forward to popping all around while I also monitor the ALCS too on the second screen. So
that's happening
that'll be
as well.
happening as well.
The subplot of Mavs and Suns is going to be really interesting. Just everything that happened in Game
Sure.
7 last year and,
Yep.
and all of that. The only projected blowout is Hawks and Rockets. The Hawks have a 10-point edge there. They're minus 10. Other
I
than
mean,
that, everything's supposed to be fairly close. You got 7.5 Heat over Bulls, but that's oh no,
yeah.
wait, I've got 10.5 Minnesota and OKC. So there's a
Okay, I was gonna
few,
say,
but
yeah, there's gonna be a couple Nuggets,
there's
Jazz,
Nuggets,
probably
Jazz as
should
well.
be
But there's
okay.
still enough close
Yeah,
ones here that
yeah, and a
there's
couple of
there'll
those
be
will
some
be close.
exciting ones.
You get weird stuff in the first couple weeks of the season. I'll say this too. I'm not going to run through them all here. If you're super interested, go look at my Twitter timeline at Keith Smith NBA. A whole bunch of guys triggered guarantees in their contracts today. Some became fully guaranteed. Some become partially guaranteed for a pretty big number just by being on the opening night roster. That's how that is one of the more popular guarantee dates we see written in the contracts. But you can find that on my Twitter. I did a couple tweets about that this morning.
All right, guys, make sure you check that out at Keith Smith NBA. I think that's about it for us today. NBA season is back. Can't wait for even more basketball tonight. Make sure you are subscribing to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. Don't forget to head over to our podcast feed over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Make sure you are subscribing there and give us that 5-star rating and review. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.